So, what if I told you the perfect world wasn't a paradise at all, but actually the most terrifying prison you could ever imagine? That's the chilling idea we're diving into today with Aldous Huxley's Brave New World. Now, this book was written way back in 1932, but its vision of the future, it feels, well, eerily familiar. Let's get into it and break down how a world built entirely on pleasure could become the ultimate cage.
Okay, so when you hear the word dystopia, what pops into your head, right? It's usually a world of fear, Big Brother watching your every move, oppression, basically control through pain. But Huxley, he flipped that entire idea on its head. He imagined something way more subtle, way more insidious. A world controlled not by what we're afraid of, but by what we crave. A world controlled by pleasure.
Right, a dystopia of pleasure. And at the absolute heart of this world is this chilling bargain. We're going to see how an entire society was convinced to give up everything. Freedom, art, truth. Not because they were forced to by some tyrant, but because they willingly traded it all away for an endless supply of comfort, stability, and just constant distraction. And you've got to remember, Huxley was writing this almost a century ago. His warning wasn't about, that classic image of a boot stamping on a human forever. No, his warning was about something much quieter. It was about a society becoming so obsessed with engineered, artificial happiness that it completely forgets what it even means to be human.
So how do you even build a world like that? Well, the world state, as it's called, didn't just happen. It wasn't something that evolved over time. Oh no. It was meticulously designed, engineered, and constructed, literally, from the moment of conception inside a bottle in a lab.
Okay, it all starts with this incredibly rigid caste system. You have the alphas at the very top. They're the intellectuals, the managers. Then you've got betas, gammas, deltas, all the way down to the epsilons at the bottom, who do the most undesirable jobs. And here's the kicker. Every single person is decanted from a bottle, genetically engineered and chemically conditioned for their specific place in society. So forget about climbing the social ladder. There is no ladder. You're born for your job and you're conditioned to absolutely love your inescapable fate. Now, to pull off this level of total, unshakable stability, the world state had to, well, get rid of a few things. Just the small stuff. The things we consider totally fundamental to being human. Things like natural birth, gone. The whole idea of a family, obsolete. Deep, passionate emotional attachments, way too dangerous. Art, religion, even real scientific curiosity, all suppressed. And the big one, individuality, that's treated like a disease. So the big question is, how do you keep billions of people happy and in line without ever using force? The world state has it down to a science. It relies on three, let's call them pillars of control, three incredibly powerful technologies. And it all starts by getting into everyone's heads when they're not even awake. First up, you've got something called hypnopedia. It's basically sleep teaching. From the moment they're babies, every citizen has these little moral lessons and social slogans whispered into their ears all night long. Things like, everyone belongs to everyone else. And after years of this, these aren't just slogans. They become deep, ingrained truths. It shapes their whole reality, and they never even realize they were taught it. And that brainwashing is reinforced with something they call neo-Pavlovian conditioning. This is where the physical part comes in. So, for example, they'll take babies who are destined for the lower castes and show them beautiful things, like books and flowers. But just as the babies crawl towards them, bam, loud alarms go off, they get a little electric shock, they do this over and over. And what happens? Those kids grow up with a deep, gut-level hatred for nature and books. It guarantees they'll never want anything more than the life they've been given. And then there's the final piece of the puzzle, maybe the most powerful tool of all. It's called the soma. Soma is a government-issued drug, and it's perfect. Feeling a little sad, stressed out, angry? Just take a gram of soma, and you go on a perfect mental holiday. The best part? No hangovers, no side effects. It is the ultimate social pacifier. I mean, think about it. Why would you ever rebel when you can just check out? Okay, so you have this perfectly engineered society, right? Everyone is happy, everything is stable, and this sets the stage for the novel's huge central conflict. It's really a massive philosophical debate, and it's brought to life through two characters who could not be more different. In one corner, you've got John. They call him the Savage because he grew up completely outside the world state, on a reservation where all the old human ways still exist. Things like marriage, religion, Shakespeare. And in the other corner, you have Mustafa Mond. He's one of the 10 world controllers, a brilliant alpha who runs the show and knows exactly what humanity gave up to get here. And he thinks it was worth it. And Mond's argument is, well, it's chilling because it's so practical. He basically says that stability is the most important thing, period. He argues that all the messy, painful parts of being human, things like great art, real science, real freedom, they just had to go. They were the price for creating a world with no war, no poverty, no suffering at all. A world where everyone is happy all the time.
But John's rebuttal, man, this is the absolute soul of the novel. He completely rejects this shallow, fake happiness. He shouts back that the full human experience, and that includes the pain, the struggle, even sin, that's what actually gives life meaning. And then he says it. He's claiming the right to be unhappy. Because that right, it's the same thing as the right to be truly human. And that's the question the book throws right at us, right at you. If you had to choose, which would it be? Guaranteed happiness, guaranteed comfort, but with no real freedom. Or total freedom, but with all the risks that come with it. The pain, the failure, the suffering. What's your pick? You know, what is so wild about all of this is that Huxley's vision, written way back in 1932, feels less and less like science fiction and more like a commentary about our own world. The parallels are they're impossible to ignore. I mean, just think about it for a second. Soma, the drug that erases any bad feeling, how different is that from our own culture's reliance on pharmaceuticals for every little discomfort? The constant, mindless distractions they have? It looks an awful lot like our 24/7 news cycle and social media feeds, doesn't it? Their conditioning to make people consume? That's just the ancestor of modern advertising. And their genetic engineering? That's not science fiction anymore. It's a real debate we're having right now.
So in the end, Huxley's biggest warning isn't about some evil government forcing us into a cage. It's much quieter than that. It's a warning that we might be the ones to build our own cage, that we might be seduced into willingly, maybe even eagerly, giving up our humanity, our freedom, our depth, all for the sake of an easy, comfortable life. And that really leaves us with one last, kind of haunting question to think about. In our own lives, in our constant search for more comfort, more convenience, an easier life, what are we willing to lose? What essential parts of being human might be sacrificing along the way?